Look out, here's trouble. G'day legends, it's your mate Jim from Jim Does SuperCoach. Feeling very dusty today. We had a massive Super Bowl party yesterday, so that's why we've got a really quick show this morning. It's Tuesday morning before the double round of NBA Supercoach. I figured I'd just jump on this morning, do 5-10 minutes just talking out what I'm going to do this week with the double round with loads of players playing 5 games across the 2 weeks, and basically just really quickly recap last week as well. So let's get into it. No further ado, because I'll tell you what, the Super Bowl party was awesome yesterday, but in true fashion, there was a lot of drinking. I was absolutely steaming by the time I got home. There was no way I was doing a show. I made that mistake on NBA Straya a couple of years ago of trying to do a show after I got, it was horrible. It's one of the worst shows I've ever done. So this week, I still managed to get 936, which was ranked in the top 2%, 644 overall for the week, which moved me up in the overall rankings for the season to 424, which is a bit of a surprise. I wasn't entirely, certain about who else would get affected by the Luka sitting out games. I had, Amen Thompson did very little for me as well. But I think the big moves that worked for me this week were Ant-Man. He came in for Donnie Mitchell, did awesome with 115. Keeping Wemby, he still had 99. Jalen Johnson was back in the team. He had 123. He was great. And Alpi Şengün with the 117. Unreal gear. Maxi 114 as well. So pretty solid scoring from the rest of my team. Josh Hart was the dart throw. He missed a game and the rest of his games were not very good either. And it's this weird thing when you look at a Knicks team that I was sort of going back and forth on Brunson and Hart. Last week, I couldn't afford Brunson, I think, at that point. So the Hart dart throw was kind of like, maybe he has a couple of really good games. Once he missed that one, it was all over Red Rover. And I'm like, I've missed a trick here. So that sort of sucked. Because Josh Hart's this walking triple-double threat. But with Cat and Mitch Robinson playing most of their games at the moment, he's sort of not having these top-end scores. But the potential's always going to be there. Anyway, so now, what do we do going into this week? We've obviously got some big injury news with SGA out, with Luka out for today's game at the very least against OKC. So I've moved Luka out already. I'd already moved on from SGA. And I guess the big thing that we look at all the time here on Jim Does SuperCoach with NBA Supercoach is the schedule. With all these teams on 5 games across 2 weeks, because we have the All-Star break this weekend, right? So we go from Tuesday, today, the 10th of Feb, all the way through to the 23rd of Feb with this round, right? So many teams are playing 5 games that you're actually sort of, you're better off just looking at the teams playing only 3 games and avoiding them, right? Because I'm actually okay with 4-game weeks, I think, for some of the big players. I think we've learned that across the season for NBA Supercoach. If you've got Jokic, if you've got Wemby, 4 games from them is fine. It'll outscore anybody else probably even on 5 games. SGA was probably the same, but obviously he's now out injured. So I think the big ones we're going to look at this week to avoid are Toronto only playing 3 games. I think it's Boston only on 3 games as well. And sort of these are the teams that we're just like, well, if we've got a couple of Boston or Raptors floating around, that's Jaylen Brown, it's Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram possibly, they got to go. For the 3-game week, for this double week, the scoring's just not going to be there in 3 games versus someone having 5 games, right, that you can bring in, which is what I'm doing. And I think outside of that, there's a few teams still with only 4, like Dallas, San Antonio, Washington, Houston, Golden State, Memphis, Minnesota, Miami. But again, even Detroit as well. But if you've got those dudes like Cade Cunningham, or you think about, I don't know about Bam, I think we've already sort of seen that his ceiling can be quite limited with his Supercoach scoring, but someone like Ant-Man, even Steph, Steph sort of being in and out and the sort of All-Star break looming as well, I'd be steering clear of basically everybody on Golden State. It's just a little bit too squirrely for me. Austin Reeves coming back is a big one, I think, this week, and he's going to be one of the more traded in players. Jokic having a 5-game week as well. This is the thing with the All-Star break. Some of these All-Stars might sit out 1 game either side of the All-Star break just to give themselves a little bit more of a rest. Jokic, however, you got to keep in mind, for the NBA awards chatter and the all NBA teams and stuff, they need to hit a 65-game mark. And with Jokic having missed a bunch of games already this season, he's really close to it. So it's going to be interesting to see if he just plays every single game from here on out. But As I said earlier, Wemby, Jokic, if they're only playing 4 games, that's fine. Jokic has got 5 this week, so he can almost afford to miss a game. He is very pricey at 26 mil, but still, I love bringing him back in. So Jokic in for Luka was like the straight up swap for me, really. Outside of that, Reeves is a really, really good pick that I like. He's at 15.2 mil. He's like, a lot of trades have already, sort of been involving him, bringing him back in. And with LeBron probably resting maybe a couple of games here or there as well, Luka missing today's game, Reeves has got a really, really high upside. One of the other big trade-in targets this week has been Donovan Mitchell. The James Harden addition for the Cavs really, really helps him, sort of opens up his game, frees him up from a little bit of the ball handling responsibility. And Kawhi Leonard, the flip side of that trade, right? He's now got no James Harden. He has to do way more. But again, all-star Kawhi, it would not surprise me. He's got a 5-game week, a 5-game round, as it were. I would not be surprised if Kawhi misses a game or 2 there as well. So he's probably one that I'm going to steer clear of. Harden, he's got a 5-game week as well. He's been traded in a few times. I think, look, he's got a really, really high floor, I think, as a Cleveland Cavalier. It might just take a little bit of a time for him to, acclimatize to the Cavs sort of like offense. So I can see why Donovan Mitchell is much more of a preferred trading candidate at the moment. Harden down the road might be a very interesting look. But otherwise, so I think what I'm doing this week, just to get to the point, Jim, Luka goes out for Jokic. Jaylen Brown goes out for Mikal Bridges. And Jalen Brunson comes in for his mate Josh Hart because they're basically priced the same. Brunson's, I think, only $400,000 more expensive than Josh Hart, who only managed 41 last week. And Brunson is just a dude who just keeps playing. He had 99 last week, and that straight swap feels pretty good because I think Josh Hart's break-even is like 130 something, and he's just inconsistent little run here and there. Like he had that run in week 14 where he had 29, 26, 25. When I brought him in last week, I was sort of hoping for much more of that. Misses a game, then rips off a 15, a 7, and a 19. You're breaking my heart, Josh Hart. So I think Jokic is worth bringing in. The ceiling on that scoring is massive. When he's got the 5-game round, I feel fine about that, even if he misses a game. Brunson as well, his scoring is just super duper consistent when he's, if he's not missing games, he's awesome, right? And he had a 6-point game against Detroit, but that was bracketed by a 43 and a 30. So not bad, right? And he'll have like that one stinker every so often, but so much of the rest of it's like, as long as it's above 20, he can have that 30, he can have that 40-point game as well. And I think Brunson's sort of the guy who's just sort of hitting a bit of a nice patch right now. And the other, as bringing in Bridges for Jaylen Brown as well, I think Bridges is an interesting one because he sort of found a little bit of scoring punch in the last few weeks. But I think his rebounding, his sort of all-round ability is sort of a little bit underrated at 11.4 mil. He's the one I've got sitting there now. And I think if I sort of move, like the other options I've got around that, I've got 12.2 mil in the bank. And of the players that I could afford, I think Bridges is the best option, right? Because you sort of look at the other ones, like Nicky Alexander-Walker is one that I did kick the tires on. He's been fantastic. Con Knipple, obviously they're on Charlotte. With all their guys back, he's just not been quite as good. Miles Bridges was the other one, but I'm almost like, philosophically opposed to bringing him in because he sucks as a person. We try to take emotion out of SuperCoach, but sometimes, here we are. Miles Bridges has got like a pretty awesome a bit of upside. So, look, it'll be either Mikal Bridges or Miles Bridges at the moment. Jaden McDaniels is another one. Andrew Wiggins. Najee Marshall I looked at too. Jaime Jaquez is playing pretty well. But I think one of the Bridges or Nick Alexander-Walker is probably where I'm going to land when we actually lock this in. I think, what do we got for this rolling lockout? It is in 1 hour. So I'm going to throw this video up, put it all together, and then rolling lockouts to kick off. But with a double week, essentially all you're trying to do is make sure you've got as many guys playing 5 games. Stay on top of these injury reports because I'm looking at dudes like, I've still got Jamal Murray in my team. With an all-star game ahead of him as well, he might be a guy who misses a game here or two, here or there. But with these limited trades, I sort of had to fix something like Luka, who I don't mind. Like if he misses only 1 game, but the problem is it's a hamstring. I think they'll be really cautious with that. He's got an all-star game ahead of him as well, right? So these are the things when we go into SuperCoach, especially with this week-to-week lockout approach for NBA Supercoach. I think injuries, we should be very, very conservative when we look at these, right? And go, if there's going to be a missed game that we understand that Luka is going to be very, very good if he plays 3 or 4 other games, but we just don't know that. So I'm just happy to move off him for the week. Bring in Jokic. That gives you sort of that big sort of 20 mil plus player to get to Jokic. So I'm much happier having Jokic on my team than Luka at the moment. So as it stands, I think I've got Maxey and Brunson in the backcourt, Murray and Edwards, Wemby at my center. Amen Thompson sticks around. I still believe in him. I think he'll be okay. It's either Miles Bridges or Mikal Bridges or Nicky Alexander-Walker for that other small forward spot for me. Jalen Johnson, LP Şengün, and Jokic is the flex. So lots going on there. I'll throw the C on Jokic this week too, but I'm not really touching my bench at the moment. I'm still very annoyed that Stephon Castle he was awesome this week, and I'm like, where was that when I had you in? What are you doing? You're breaking my heart. I think you ripped off 108. So yeah, of the top 6 scorers, I had 5 of them last week. Kawhi was the top scorer in the entire NBA. And then Castle was the next one at 108. Joel Embiid, 101. Amazing work from him as well, considering he still doesn't play back-to-backs. But I sort of, he has that incredible upside when he does play. But the problem is, if you're looking at the schedule, if there's any back-to-backs, you just cross Embiid off out of those games and you're missing an entire game from a player. So he's one to keep an eye on, but I much prefer Wemby and Jokic in my big man spots for the moment. And here we are. Right, I think that'll do us because I'm going to chuck this up and we'll go into the week, feeling pretty good. The double round, so we'll pop back on. We might try to do a bit of a, once this round sort of finishes in 2 weeks' time, we'll do another sort of NBA catch-up. But if you listen to NBA Straya, we'll still be talking about all the NBA gear. We'll be talking about the All-Star game. That's the way to stay up to date with all the news for the NBA. That's what NBA Straya does, right? So go check that out if you haven't already. But that's it. I think this has been Jim Does SuperCoach. What do we got? Week 16 ahead of us. I'm ranked 424. Hope you're doing well. Here's to a big double round. Hope you've got as many 5-game dudes as possible. And happy SuperCoaching.